Greetings, my friend, and welcome to the podcast, Teaching That Transforms with Dr. Jimmy Knott. Thanks so very much for joining me today. Today I'm going to begin a new season of episodes, and it's on one of my most favorite subjects. Has been one of my most favorite subjects for at least 20 years, if not more. The subject of leadership. I'm calling this series, It's All About Leadership, subtitled, Be a Leader Worth Following. That's the same title of my book that's available on Amazon. I encourage you to purchase it for this season of teaching. I think you'll find it to be a helpful resource for your library. You can also find it on my website, jimmyknott.com, jimmyknott.com, jimmyknott.com. I hope that will help you. I'm really excited about this. I've been a student and a practitioner of leadership for well more than 20 or 25 years. I've done it in a local church setting. I've done it in a marketplace setting. I've taught it in a collegiate setting, in basic undergraduate programs, and also in master level programs and MBA programs. It is a subject that I believe is of vital importance and critical to the success of an individual, a family, or a company, or whatever the case may be. Today is going to be a little bit more introductory into the overall subject of leadership. We're going to look a little bit at the condition of leadership, talk about why leaders are important, try to get some kind of a working definition of what leadership is and what leadership does, and then look at some of the most important components that make someone a leader worth following. So it's all about leadership. When you hear that statement, let me ask you this question. What's it's? Yeah, that's right. What's it's? If it's all about leadership, what's it's? Well, let me ask you just a few questions. Are businesses about leadership, regardless of the business or the venue? Of course they are. What about sports? How about government, politics? How about education? How about family? Almost everything, if not everything, has some connection to leadership. In fact, maybe most important, is you and me, our individual self-leadership. Because after all, why would anyone want to follow the influence of our leadership if they don't see us doing a good job leading ourselves? It's all about leadership. Leadership doesn't just make a difference. Friend, it is the difference. John Maxwell got it right. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Andy Stanley, one of my heroes, you might say, when it comes to leadership, he said, the more you know about leadership, the faster you grow and the farther you'll go as a leader. That is so true. And friend, if you don't believe that, when you go out today, whether it's to family, whether it's to work, recreation, just do your best to intentionally to lead badly and see how that goes. I don't think it'll go very well, do you? Probably not. Probably not. So I want to kind of begin along this by asking you a couple of just overall general 30,000-foot questions. The first one is this. How would you describe the general condition, the overall general condition of leadership in America? Across all sectors, across all industries, what words would you use to describe the general condition of leadership in America? How about lousy? How about no accountability? Lacking transparency? Lacking integrity? Incompetent? Self-serving? Tense? Ineffective? Divisive? Weak? Stressful? Conflicted? And that's just some of the words. I have asked that question in just about any venue you can imagine. And I'll always get the same answers. Leadership in America is indeed dismal. There's no question that there are pockets of good and great leaders out there, but generally speaking, across the board, it's weak and it's dismal. Every year, the Center for Leadership at Harvard does a survey of the status of leadership across America. This polled hundreds of people and getting their take on the state of leadership in America. And they have done this for many, many years. And over the years, that number has only varied 2 or 3% from this number. 70%. 70% of their surveys say we have, quote, a crisis in leadership, end quote, in America. Never has public confidence been lower when it comes to leadership. Probably at an all-time low in so many different venues. We have to admit that the overall condition of leadership in America is dismal indeed. Here's my second question for you. Why are leaders important? What do leaders bring to the family, to the sports team, to the work team, to the business office? What do leaders bring? Because if you didn't have the leader, what would be missing? Well, some of the answers to that are just so obvious. Direction would be missing. Where are we going? What are we doing? Vision would be missing. Problem solving would be missing. Team building and team moving together toward a common purpose would be missing. Accountability would be missing. Hopefully, care and support and help would be missing. Training would be missing. No doubt a lot would be missing if leaders weren't in place. But I think one of the most important results of good leadership has to do with the subject of engagement, especially employee engagement. Employees who are engaged, they don't just show up. Engaged employees are all in. They're involved. They're committed. They're enthusiastic. They enjoy healthy relationships at work. They're contributing. They feel valued. They feel safe. They feel connected. And when they're engaged, they feel that they get to do what they do best and enjoy most of the time. Expectations and purpose is clear. And yet, according to Gallup, only about 30% of the American workforce is engaged as I described. 52% are disengaged. They just basically show up to draw a paycheck. And then 18% on average are actively disengaged, where they literally go to work day after day to do damage. So you've got 70% of the American workforce unengaged. Now, you say, what does that have to do with leadership? Well, Gallup has also done extensive research and come to this conclusion. 70% of an employee's engagement is due to their boss, to their manager, to their first line leader. 70% of their engagement. I read a poll recently that said 45% of employees believe they have a bad boss. 54% say they don't trust their boss. 65% trust a stranger more than their boss. And 65% want a better boss over a raise. Now, friend, that's important. Leaders are important. So that means when the leader gets better, everyone and everything else gets better as well. So it raises the really very important question is, how do you become more effective as a leader? How do you increase your effectiveness in leading and influencing others? Well, I think there are basically two ways. One is to work harder. I mean, be more committed, be willing to work harder, to give more effort, to put in more hours, to provide greater sacrifice, to be more committed. Well, my guess is if you're an aspiring leader or already a leader, and you probably have a decent work ethic, On a scale of 1 to 10, you're probably already operating in terms of your commitment level somewhere in a range of 7, 8, at times maybe 9. Even that is hard to sustain, especially as you age. So I guess you could increase your effectiveness as a leader as you worked harder, but I'm not sure that working harder is sustainable. I think a better way to increase your effectiveness as a leader and have a greater impact is to increase your ability to lead through increasing your knowledge and understanding aptitude for leadership and what leadership is and what leadership does. So I think the more we understand about what true leadership is and does, then the more effective we're going to be in influencing others as a leader. I mean, here's an important principle for us to understand. Leadership knowledge and ability largely determines overall influence, effectiveness, and success. Let me say that again. This is an important principle. Leadership knowledge and ability largely determines overall influence, effectiveness, and success. And that's what I'm hoping that this season of teachings on It's All About Leadership is going to help all of us become more effective as leaders. Because as I said earlier, leadership doesn't just make a difference. It is the difference. Your leadership makes a difference. So, what is leadership? And when we're talking about it's all about leadership, what is it's? How do you define leadership? Well, I don't know that there's a better place to go, whether you're a person of faith or not a person of faith. Everything that I've studied over the years about leadership, Jesus Christ was one of the greatest leaders to ever walk the face of this earth, without question. Even those who don't personally believe in him, he is without question a leader. So how did Jesus define leadership? Well, I think the best thing I could do is go to one of the writers in the gospel who wrote about Jesus. And this is what he said. And Jesus appointed 12, whom he also named apostles, so that they might be with him and he might send them out to preach. He appointed 12 and he sent to be with him, and he sent them out to preach. What's the writer telling us about Jesus, and really about any leader, what leadership is? Leadership is a process, and it's a process of influence. Anytime anyone seeks to influence the attitudes, beliefs, behaviors, feelings, actions of another individual, you have just assumed the role of a leader. And I didn't say anything about title, position, rank, or authority, because you can have title, and you can have position, you can have rank, and you can even have authority, but that doesn't necessarily make you a good leader. So if you take that Bible verse and you put it in a sentence, who is a leader? A leader is a person who influences people, others, to achieve a goal, a result, or a purpose, to get things done. It's a person, it's someone. A leader is someone who influences. Influence is it's about power. And that influence can be positive, where you empower, where you multiply, where you add value, where you liberate. Or, unfortunately, it can be negative, where the individual is controlling and manipulative and intimidating. A leader is a person who influences others. There are always others involved in the equation of leadership. But it's always with purpose and goal and result and getting things done in mind. A leader is someone who influences others to achieve a purpose or accomplish a goal. Now, going back to that verse, Jesus appointed 12 so that they might be with him and he might send them out to preach. Did you notice the order? Leadership is first relational. It's about people. Those followers were called to be with him. Not about position, not about title. Leadership is first relational. It's about people. And then it's about results or direction. And here's what I know by experience. The stronger the relational side, the easier the directional side. Please listen. This is not the norm in leadership in the world today, but it can be leadership changing. Leadership is relational. You may have a title, authority, but if you don't take care of the people around you, you aren't a leader. A leader is a person who influences others to achieve a purpose or a goal. So let me ask you, think back over your life. It could be a parent, could be a teacher, could be a coach, could be a pastor, could be a grandparent, could be a family friend. It could even be a peer. It could be a boss, a leader that you had. Let me ask you this question. Who's the best leader you've ever known and why? Think about that for a minute. Who is the best leader you've ever known and why? Why? You got it? Someone come to mind? What makes someone, maybe another way to phrase the question is, what makes someone a leader worth following? What are the qualities that are essential in order to be a leader worth following? Well, no doubt there are many. But years ago, I came across a verse in the Bible, Psalm 78:72, particularly the New International Version. Let me read you the verse. It's kind of my life and leadership verse. And David shepherded them with integrity of heart. With skillful hands, he led them. What creates influence, positive influence? What makes someone a leader worth following? Because you and I know there is a huge difference between having a following and being worth following. And we should strive to be leaders that people want to follow, want to allow us to influence their lives for the better, regardless of title, position, rank, or authority. And David shepherded them with integrity of heart, with skillful hands. It says he led them. Let me give you a little bit of context. Those words were written by a man named Asaph. Asaph, it appears, was a contemporary of David. And he knew of David. He had watched David. And he knew that David had been a shepherd boy. And I'm not sure at this point in time as he writes this whether or not David had risen to the point of being the king of the nation. But Asaph had watched David's life. And when he looked at David's life, he came to the conclusion, he's a leader. He's a leader. And if you know anything about the life and the story of David, he certainly was not a perfect man by any stretch of the imagination. And yet Asaph said he was a leader. What was it about David that Asaph noticed that brought him to the conclusion, David is a leader, and anyone who practices what David practices is also a leader worth following? Well, they're right here in the text. Right here in the text. And David shepherded them with integrity of heart. Integrity of heart. That's the first and the foremost component of being a credible leader worth following. It is authentic character. It is who you and I are at the very core of our being. Integrity of heart. Next, with skillful hands. That's exceptional competency. That's knowing what to do, knowing how to do it, and having a work ethic to get it done. Character is about who you are. Exceptional competence is about what you can do. And then third, David shepherded them. Yes, David was a shepherd boy, watching over flocks of sheep. And shepherdology is one of the most fascinating vocations on earth, still today. There's such a unique relationship between the shepherd and the sheep, a very personal relationship. Normally in a flock of about 100, every sheep is given a name by the shepherd. Though they all may look alike to a stranger, they were all unique to the shepherd. And it says David shepherded them. What does that mean? I think that means that David relationally connected with each of the sheep. There was a chemistry that went on between the shepherd and the sheep, between David and the sheep. So there you have three, I think, core components of what it means to be a credible leader worth following: authentic character, exceptional competence, and relational connection. Basically, each of those answers one of the most important questions that followers have concerning any potential leader. Authentic character says, I can trust you. Because people want to follow people that they trust. Exceptional competence. What can you do? People want to know, do you have the capability and the competency to help me? And then third is that relational connection. Do you actually care for me? Are you for me? Are you against me? Or truth be known, you're just for yourself. So, it's all about leadership. And leadership is about influencing people to accomplish a goal or purpose. And it's first and it's foremost relational, not directional or result oriented. You take care of the relationships, I promise you the results will take care of themselves. Let me ask you a question as I close today. Have you ever thought about this? Why should anyone let you lead them? How would you answer that question? Well, I'm going to tell you how I answer it. Why should anyone let me influence their life and have entree in their life to make a difference, positive difference and influence in their lives? Because I'm striving to be a person of authentic character. Because I'm striving to be a person of exceptional competence who can help them. And I'm striving to build a meaningful, caring, genuine relationship with them first and foremost as a person. Those are the non-negotiables of being a leader worth following. And over the next few episodes, we're going to unpack each one of those in depth, beginning with authentic character, followed by exceptional competence, and then in relational connection. And we're also going to look at some other aspects of It's All About Leadership. Again, I want to remind you, I really want to encourage you to go to Amazon and get the book, It's All About Leadership by Jimmy Knott, JIMMYKNOTT. It's also available on my website, jimmyknott.com, jimmyknott.com. Thanks for listening to Teaching That Transforms with Dr. Jimmy Knott. Remember, teaching only transforms when it's consistently practiced. I look forward to you joining me next time.